In the darkness of a deserted forest, a faint groan rings out, like a whisper from beyond the grave. Emma Carter, a veteran haunted by PTSD, halts in her tracks. Is it merely a hallucination born of wartime nightmares, or is destiny calling her name? After years submerged in grief, loss, and solitude, this moment will change her life forever. Unbeknownst to Emma, hidden in the shadows, a small creature waits to redeem her and millions of other hearts. The story of Emma and Shadow. The dog is not just a soldier's journey to healing, it's proof that even in the darkest days, a spark of hope can emerge. How can a broken veteran and an abandoned dog become symbols of resilience and unconditional love? Hit subscribe and join us on this tearful, surprising, inspiring journey, one that will make you believe that sometimes miracles are born from the deepest wounds. Emma Carter was once the embodiment of courage, her hair cropped short and neat, her eyes as clear as glass, her radiant smile inspiring her comrades. She had survived countless brutal missions, from the scorching desert expanses to the dense jungles where the thunder of bombs had once drowned every dream. Yet when the guns fell silent, the smoke of war still clung to her. The blood-soaked memories, the anguished cries of fallen friends, and the images of ruin haunted Emma's mind like invisible chains. Back in Montana, she had hoped to rediscover herself amid golden wheat fields and endless blue skies. But darkness continued to surround her. Every night's sleep became a new battle, with the echoes of artillery fire relentless in her ears. Emma would jolt awake in the dead of night, each breath pressing against her chest like a blade. Her hands still trembled, though her rifle lay far from reach. The tranquilizers prescribed by her doctor could not lull her into peaceful slumber. They only deepened her void, as if numbing her very emotions. That pressure drove Emma into isolation. She bolted her windows, cut off most contact, and refused to let anyone penetrate the fragile world she harbored within. Her family texted relentlessly, her friends offered visits, but Emma declined them all. She felt like a stranger in her hometown, as though the war had transformed her beyond recognition. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she whispered in therapy one day, her voice trembling with the fear that her confession would be dismissed. Then one afternoon, as the sunlight began to fade, Emma decided to venture deep into the national forest near town, seeking escape from her nightmares. She packed a small backpack, a bottle of water, and some packaged food, caring little for the path home. In the woods, shafts of light pierced the canopy, painting the forest floor with dancing patches of brightness and shadow. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying the earthy scent of moss and damp bark, a fragrance she hadn't inhaled in months. The sensation was at once foreign and profoundly grounding, reminding her of her own existence for the first time in ages. As she strolled toward a babbling brook, Emma's heart skipped a beat. Amid the silence, a faint moan rose up, shattering the hush like a cry from the depths. She froze, tilting her head to listen. Could it be a trick of her PTSD-addled mind? Many times before, her own trauma had deceived her with phantom sounds. But this was different. The groan was real, halting, and ragged. Emma followed the sound through tangle of brambles until she spotted a small figure curled by the stream. It was a scrawny boy, his clothes torn, his face ashen, his eyes glinting with profound suffering. Pain was etched into every line of him. His left arm was encrusted with dried blood that resembled green moss. Perhaps he had slipped on the rocks or tumbled down the bank. Despite her shock, Emma did not hesitate. She knelt beside him, gently placed a hand on his shoulder, and asked softly, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" The words felt fragile, but they were the first Emma had spoken to the world in a long while. The boy's breath came in ragged gasps, yet he managed a faint nod. Emma carefully set down her backpack, removed a handkerchief to staunch his bleeding. She had learned battlefield first aid in the service, rinsing wounds, applying makeshift bandages to stem the flow. As she worked, memories of fallen comrades surged in her mind. Her heart tightened, yet those memories reminded her of her purpose: to protect, not to surrender to despair. Once she had finished, Emma helped the boy to sit on a nearby boulder. He shivered, wincing from pain, yet his gaze remained fixed on her with trust. Emma poured water from her bottle into a small plastic cup, encouraging him to sip slowly. Gradually, the boy's shivering eased, though his eyes never left hers. Then, in the distance, she heard a faint whistle. A rescue team had tracked them into this remote wilderness. Emma's pale orange jacket caught their attention, guiding them to the pair. While they waited, Emma sat beside the boy, listening to his steadying breaths. Emotions she had long believed dead stirred within her. Warmth crept into her chest as he leaned against her, even amid ruin and suffering. It wasn't mere sympathy. It was a guiding light, pulling her from the shadows. When the rescue helicopter lifted the boy to safety, he turned back to Emma and whispered, "Thank you." It was his first spoken word, yet in that simple phrase, he awakened something in her. Back home, Emma no longer fled. She opened her front door, letting the day's final sunlight flood the living room. She realized she was not alone. Her nightmares still lingered, but she no longer feared them. They were proof of the strength she once carried in her heart. Emma contacted her psychologist, requested more group therapy, and signed up for veteran support gatherings. She began journaling, recording every small victory, every moment of meaning. A month later, Emma brought the boy to a Children's Protection Society outdoor program. He was healthy now, his smile blossoming once more. Watching him run and laugh among other children, Emma's eyes welled with tears. She understood the greatest truth. Sometimes, light needs only the smallest crack to shine through. And she had become that spark for anyone lost in the darkness. Emma Carter's healing journey was far from over, but she now knew she could triumph. She had discovered a new purpose: to help others rekindle their own flames of hope. Amid the Montana woods, beside the murmuring stream and whispering breeze, she learned that no wound is too deep for the healing power of compassion and courage. And from that realization, Emma Carter, the veteran, could once again wear a radiant smile, her eyes shining with resolve, living each moment fully, for herself and for those who needed her. Emma quietly followed the intermittent groans, her trembling footsteps crunching through the dry leaves beneath the forest canopy. Each step felt like a beat of her own heart, burdened by mingled fear and hope. Finally, beneath a tangle of bushes, she spotted a small figure curled in the mud, a gray-furred dog, its once sleek coat plastered with dirt and blood, shivering in the cold. Its eyes were cloudy, yet they burned with a fierce will to live, a silent plea for help. Emma had no time to hesitate. She knelt down and gently lifted the dog, its frailty tightening her chest with concern. She unzipped her leather jacket and wrapped it around the little body. The dog clung to her in tiny shivers, as if she were its only anchor. Emma held him close and whispered, "I won't leave you alone anymore, Shadow." Racing through the woods, Emma's heart pounded as though it would burst. Tears ran down her cheeks as she thought of her own scars. Surface wounds contrasted with the deep ones hidden in her soul. Shadow, the darkness, mirrored the pain and loneliness Emma had endured. They were more alike than she had realized. Both had writhed in the night, trapped in seemingly endless despair. When she reached the veterinary clinic near town, Emma pounded on the door. The veterinarian, a middle-aged woman with a warm smile, immediately grasped the situation. Shadow's slender frame was placed on the exam table, his front leg at a crooked angle, a fresh wound still dripping blood. The doctor's practiced hands assessed the injury swiftly, while Emma stood beside her, arms still around Shadow, whispering, "Stay strong, Shadow. I'm here." After a series of tests and urgent first aid, the veterinarian looked at Emma with concern and respect. "This is a severe case. He may not make it through the night." Emma only nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "I won't give up." The vet hesitated, then placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. "Stay with him all night. Call me if you need anything." Emma chose to sit right beside the critical care cage. The room was silent except for the hum of machines and the ticking clock. She laid Shadow on a warm blanket, leaning in to murmur soothing words into his ear. "I'm sorry I was late. We'll get through this together. I'll bring you home, to where the light still shines." She remembered her sleepless nights tormented by nightmares, remembered her own smile fading after discharge. But now, thanks to Shadow, she felt loved and needed for the first time in years. Time passed slowly. Each time Shadow flinched, Emma reached out to comfort him. Together, they seemed to forget the ghosts of the past. As the night deepened, the neon lights in the hallway flickered dimly, yet Emma did not move. Fatigue weighed on her, but she refused to close her eyes. Shadow's faint groans were proof of his resilient spirit. At dawn's first light, the veterinarian returned. She checked his vital signs and smiled softly. "Shadow is stable. He's past the critical stage." Emma could no longer hold back. Tears of joy blurred her vision. She bent down and kissed Shadow's head. "Thank you for holding on. Thank you for being my light." For the first time in years, her voice was filled not with uncertainty, but with hope. The next day, Emma took Shadow back to the small house by the woods where she had once imprisoned herself. The cluttered room sprang to life as Shadow, still favoring his injured leg, took his first wobbly steps. Emma smiled, gently massaging his wound after each hop. Caring for another living being made her forget the long, lonely therapy months. Shadow's recovery became her new routine. Every morning, Emma brewed a cup of black coffee, slung on her backpack, and strolled with Shadow through the backyard garden. The clumsy little dog, full of energy, sniffed each wildflower along the path. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She was experiencing simple joy for the first time, detached from war and fallen comrades. In the afternoons, they climbed the small hill behind the house to feel the breeze. Under the sunlit sky, Shadow sat beside Emma, listening to the rustle of leaves and birdsong. She stroked his recovering coat. "Thank you for coming into my life." Shadow turned his head, his bright eyes seeming to understand her gratitude. Sometimes, in an animal's eyes, humans find the purest sincerity and love. Healing Shadow also healed Emma. She joined a veterans support group, sharing the story of the forest boy reborn. She spoke of empathy, of wordless compassion, and of how a small creature could change a human life. Group members listened intently, Many wept at how Emma's pain was soothed by a tiny heart. Shadow continued to improve. Emma took him for vaccinations, completed his adoption paperwork, and gave him his official name, Shadow Carter, the steadfast companion of Emma Carter. They became inseparable. Each afternoon, the two shadows wandered the wild fields, where wind, tousled hair, and four paws danced on fresh grass. Emma and Shadow's story spread across social media, through photos of the smiling dog and his former owner. Many were moved. They shared and supported their journey. Some offered to fund his treatment. Others visited with toys for Shadow. The light of human kindness radiated throughout the Montana mountains, proving that when people and animals stand together, they can achieve the miracle of healing. One golden summer evening, Emma wrote in her journal, "Today, Shadow ran across the farthest meadow without help. I cried tears of happiness. I know there are still battles ahead, but I am no longer afraid, for I have found light in the darkness." Those words closed a dark chapter and opened the beginning of a new journey, one of love and hope. Emma Carter, the brave soldier who had once lost everything, now had a new, loyal comrade. Shadow had not only saved her life with his warmth and loyalty, but had taught her to believe in everyday miracles. Together, they would continue on, each day an exploration of human kindness, courage, and the eternal light that shines through the night. Emma carried Shadow back to the little house by the woods, where she had once locked herself away in silence. They crossed the threshold together, two wounded souls entering under one roof. Emma still bore the proud stance of a soldier, yet her eyes were sunken from sleepless nights, her heart still shaken by bombs in her dreams. Shadow, the gray-furred dog, was gaunt, trembling whenever Emma's gentle hand reached out to him. Each stitch on his front leg spoke of painful scars, a fragile body, and a fear that humanity had yet to soothe. On the first day, Emma placed Shadow in a corner of the living room, spread a warm blanket beneath him, then sat at a distance, clutching an old storybook. Her voice soft and steady as she read fairy tales aloud. Her tone was like a lullaby, weaving through the still air. Shadow gazed at her with uncertain eyes, not yet trusting enough to approach. Every time Emma stroked the blanket, he took a step back, turned away. She watched patiently, forcing herself to learn the meaning of patience. As the afternoon waned, Shadow retreated into a cardboard box, his eyes flickering toward Emma now and then. She smiled gently, her voice warm. "It's okay, Shadow. I won't hurt you." Whether he understood or not, Emma repeated those words each hour, emphasizing each syllable slowly and softly, so Shadow would know her voice was no threat. On the second day, they took their first short walk in the backyard. Emma donned her backpack, packed water for them both. Shadow stepped outside for the first time, his front leg limping, yet his tail gave a small wag. Emma exhaled in relief, gently guiding him along an old trail she called the Path of Peace. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, touching Shadow's back, caressing Emma's hope. She bent down and patted him. "Keep going, Shadow. We're in this together." They walked slowly. Shadow paused several times in fatigue, his nose brushing the grass. Emma laid a hand on his shoulder, whispered, "Feeling tired? Let's rest a moment." Shadow lay down, yet his eyes remained wide, watching Emma. She sat beside him, waiting until he stood again. No words were needed, just presence, proof of the bond between two wounded hearts. Back inside, Emma wrote in her journal titled Pause and Purpose. She recorded every moment. The instant Shadow timidly placed a paw outside, when he rested under the old pine, when he trembled, yet refused to give up. Her words poured out, a testament to her pain and her burgeoning hope. The journal was more than a story of a dog. It was a map guiding her back to herself. But life is not all calm seas. Nightfall brought nightmares. Emma jolted awake many times, screaming in her sleep, sending Shadow into a startled retreat to the room's far corner. Each scream echoed, leaving her breathless upon waking. One night, in a panic, Emma accidentally pushed Shadow away. The dog whimpered, eyes wide with fear. She wept, recalling the loneliness she had endured. Then, unexpectedly, Shadow did not flee. He lay down beside her, breathing evenly, his eyes soft and saying, "I'm here. I won't abandon you." That moment stilled Emma. She gathered Shadow in her arms, rested her head on his small back, feeling warmth spread through her. She whispered, "Thank you. I'm sorry for scaring you." Shadow trembled slightly, rested his head in her hand, accepting her touch. For the first time, Emma understood that healing did not mean forgetting the past, but learning to live alongside it, with a loyal companion. From that day on, their connection grew stronger each morning. They practiced breathing together. Emma sat in meditation, Shadow lying beside her, eyes closed. She imagined her breath merging with his heartbeat, seeking peace. Afterwards, the two warriors continued along the path of peace, a little farther than the day before. Shadow's limp lessened, his legs growing stronger, and he eagerly sniffed the fresh air. Emma documented their daily journey: dawn's light, birdsong overhead, the distant murmur of the creek, and Shadow exploring with unbridled curiosity. She reflected on her fears, how she had once rejected love and was now learning to embrace it. Her journal overflowed with emotion, a pledge never to return to past darkness. As weeks passed, Shadow's wounds healed, his stitches removed, his leg regaining strength. Emma noted each milestone: the day the bandage came off, the day he leapt onto her for play. She laughed aloud when Shadow first jumped onto the bed, clumsy, yet triumphant. Emma's sleep grew gentler. No more dreams of bombs, just the steady rhythm of Shadow's breathing beside her. Nightmares did not vanish entirely. Some nights, Emma still startled awake, but now she knew how to cope. Upon waking, she placed her hand on Shadow and whispered, "I'm here." The dog thumped his tail softly, remaining steadfast at her side. Their friendship became an invisible medicine, healing deep wounds. Finally, Emma decided to share their story on her YouTube channel. She created a short video, scenes of the path of peace, Shadow's first steps, their moments by the stream. Her warm, gentle voice narrated their journey. Viewers commented that they too had found a glimmer of light in life's darkness. Messages flowed in. "Your story saved me from despair." Emma stared at the screen in quiet joy, feeling warmth spread through her heart. In the glow of a yellow lamp, Emma sat at her desk, Shadow obediently lying at her feet. She opened her journal and read the first lines. "On day 1, I was afraid. Today, I know what hope feels like." She smiled and looked at Shadow. "We did it, didn't we?" Shadow closed his eyes and let out a soft sigh, as if answering her. Emma and Shadow's healing journey continued, but now they no longer walked alone. Every step on the path of peace carried a conviction. No scar too deep, no fear too great, that patience and love cannot guide the way to light. And in the dark, two broken hearts had found a warm flame to live fully in each moment. Emma and Shadow were walking along the path of peace in the late spring sunshine, when suddenly the little dog stopped, his nose lifting to sniff the scent of wildflowers. Emma hadn't yet smiled when she heard a faint sob. Beside the trail, beneath a canopy of tiny leaves, a boy sat curled up, shoulders hunched, quietly weeping. His small frame trembled with each stifled sob, his backpack discarded beside him as if emptied of all life. Emma stepped closer, her eyes full of concern, but it was Shadow who reached him first. The boy looked up, tears still glistening in the hollows beneath his eyes. Emma softly asked, "Why are you so sad?" But all she heard was his trembling voice whispering that his family had just lost their dog, their closest friend. The loss had shattered his heart, leaving nothing to cling to. Emma gently stepped back, allowing Shadow freedom to act. The dog approached, his back slightly bowed, and nudged the boy's hand with his muzzle, pressing in a silent comfort. In that moment, the boy's sobs eased. He slowly placed his hand atop Shadow's head, as if reclaiming the warmth he had lost. Emma watched the scene unfold, feeling her chest quake with deep empathy. Shadow, once the refuge for her own soul, now bore a new mission: to heal another wounded heart. The boy wiped his tears, offered a fleeting smile, and Whisper, Emma barely had time to think of a name, remained quietly by his side, protective and unwavering. That seemingly chance encounter became the beginning of a grand journey. Emma realized that Shadow could offer comfort not only to her, but also to other wounded souls. The very next day, she made an appointment at the nearby Veterans Support Center. Soldiers returning from the battlefield, like herself, often shut away in the darkness of PTSD, were searching for a glimmer of hope. Emma led Shadow into the common room, where warm lights glowed and the scent of tea lingered. At first, many were surprised to see a small gray dog enter the room. But with just a few steps, Shadow gently circled each person, tilting his head to look deeply into their eyes. Sometimes, he simply placed his front paws on a veteran's lap, and in that gesture he conveyed understanding. Those once stalwart warriors now hastily wiped away tears, small laughs escaping as they realized here was someone who neither judged nor turned away, but listened. Gradually, Shadow became the center's unofficial therapy dog. Every week, Emma brought him to group sessions. She witnessed soldiers who normally remained withdrawn and indifferent now engaging more openly, sharing their pain, memories, and hopes. They spoke of sleepless nights, of nightmares, then fell silent when Shadow touched their hands, as if whispering, "You are not alone." Healing power lay not in words, but in silent presence and pure loyalty. Beyond the center, Emma launched a blog in English, Pause and Purpose, to share their journey. She posted journal entries, photos of their walks along the trail, moments when Shadow comforted her during her own nightmares, and the tender instant he consoled the boy named Noah. Each post stirred deep emotions, spreading rapidly across America. Thousands of comments poured in from active service members, veterans, and those who had never set foot on a battlefield, expressing gratitude and empathy. Soon, a non-profit organization dedicated to veteran support reached out to Emma. They presented a sponsorship proposal, declaring they wanted to help scale the shadow therapy model. Immediately, the idea of opening a dedicated therapy ranch for veterans, combining nature, animals, and psychological healing activities, received full funding. The name was chosen: Haven Ranch, the place where light returns. Haven Ranch lay at the foothills, amid vast meadows. Emma and her team began designing cozy kennels for shadow and fellow therapy dogs, small retreats where veterans could find stillness, a meditation tent in the pine forest, and lush vegetable gardens for learning to plant, to sow, to connect with life's rhythms. The program would encompass not only pet therapy, but also group activities, journaling, art, and music classes, giving each person a chance to rediscover their inner voice. On opening day, Emma stood before the veterans, her eyes brimming with emotion. Shadow, now healthy and sociable, ran in circles, occasionally sitting and tilting his head in greeting. Paper confetti popped, laughter rang out, reflecting renewed faith. Emma spoke. Today, we don't just inaugurate a ranch, we open a new chapter of hope and purpose. The warm atmosphere seemed to lift the fog that had once enveloped their souls. Haven Ranch quickly became a second home for many veterans. They visited weekly, caring for the therapy dogs, harvesting vegetables, joining painting workshops. Some documented their recovery through photography, holding exhibitions titled From Darkness into Light. Faces that had once been closed now radiated. Strong hands gently led dogs on walks. Laughter echoed beneath the trees. Emma no longer walked the path of healing alone. She found strength in Shadow's understanding eyes, in the small words of thanks from a veteran. The Pause and Purpose blog now boasted tens of thousands of followers. Her YouTube channel's videos of Haven Ranch drew significant views. Emma knew that her message, even as simple as a veteran and her steadfast dog, could touch countless hearts. One late afternoon, as the sunset painted the mountains pink, Emma and Shadow stood atop a hill overlooking Haven Ranch. She placed a hand on the dog's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you, Shadow. Because of you, we've witnessed a miracle." Shadow turned his head, his bright eyes seeming to understand every word of gratitude. Two warriors, one human, one canine, had given each other reasons to live fully and had inspired thousands more. Emma and Shadow's journey continued, but now they walked not only along their own path of peace. They had opened the path of hope for countless veterans and their families across America. And in the vast expanse of Haven Ranch, every step, every breath echoed a song of humanity, of resilience, and of undying light. Haven Ranch gradually became a beacon of hope amid Montana's vast expanse. Each dawn, golden sunlight filtered through the pines, painting the ground with shimmering streaks of warmth. Emma, her denim jacket still dusted from the trails, and Shadow, the therapy dog with his little silver bell tinkling at his chest, stepped through the iron gate, now freshly whitewashed, greeting the new day and the faces that once wandered lost and lonely, now finding refuge within the farm's embrace. Each month, Haven Ranch welcomed dozens of veterans carrying heavy backpacks of memory. Some arrived with vacant eyes and labored breaths. Others paced the yard, heads bowed as if afraid of their own shadows. Emma watched every glance, understood the pain behind each. "I want to forget it all." She led them along the winding trail, where Shadow strode confidently ahead, his silver bell chiming with each step, and for the first time in years, those soldiers dared to lift their eyes, to listen to that bell echoing in the stillness. Haven Ranch was more than a place for therapy dogs. Its vast grounds featured a network of trails weaving through ancient pines, leading to wide meadows. In the lush vegetable gardens, Emma and the veterans planted everything from cherry tomatoes to golden pumpkins, the scent of fresh earth and each raindrop nourishing new life in their souls. They bent with aching backs to pull weeds, then laughed when a potato peeked from the soil, a surprise gift from nature. At sunset, the ranch grew cozier than ever, its heart the fire circle. Dry logs crackled into embers, smoke curling up to embrace the starry sky. Emma sat among the circle, her journal, Pause and Purpose, in her lap, though often she simply listened to the rustle of leaves, the popping of burning wood, and Shadow's soft murmur as he pressed his head into someone's lap, offering silent comfort. Here, words needed no polish. Sincerity in gaze and gesture was the strongest medicine. Shadow was no longer the gaunt dog who trembled at strangers. The image of him bounding through the garden, the silver bell's endless melody, had become the symbol of resilience. Along the creek that wound through the ranch, weekly rebirth walks drew veterans following Shadow's lead, listening to the water's gentle flow, feeling nature's cool mist revitalize them. Each footstep on the gravel was a step toward steady breathing, toward rediscovering life's rhythm. Yet the story's pinnacle arrived when Noah returned to Haven Ranch. The once scrawny boy with sorrow-tinged eyes had grown into a steadfast teenager. He walked into the yard, clutching a large painting. Emma recognized the delicate brushwork, the colors blending masterfully. And at its center, Shadow's eyes shone like twin stars, bathed in an ethereal glow. Noah placed the canvas on an easel in the yard, sunlight illuminating it as if crowning its worth. Silence fell, broken only by the breeze and Emma's quickening heartbeat. Noah bowed deeply, voice trembling. Shadow inspired me to overcome my grief. I painted this as a thank you. Emma could not hold back her tears. She remembered the boy crying by the roadside. His heartbreak she had nearly thought incurable. Now Noah's eyes brimmed with renewed faith, proof that their journey had touched other hearts. The painting was hung at the ranch's center, a flag of hope, reminding every visitor that no one who passes through Haven Ranch walks alone. Emma clasped Noah in a tight embrace, his sobs mingling with the chime of Shadow's bell. She whispered into his ear, "You did it, Noah. You brought hope here." He nodded, tears glinting yet smiling like sunshine. The three of them, woman, boy, and dog, stood in a circle of compassion and courage. From the day of that painting, Haven Ranch shone ever brighter. Visitors included not only veterans, but their families, volunteers, even artists drawn to capture the farmhouse's essence. All paused before Noah's painting, reading his inscription, "For broken hearts, let friendship's light heal you." Many wiped away tears, some bowed in gratitude. Haven Ranch expanded its offerings, plein-air painting classes where veterans and children sketched the countryside, small firelight concerts with guitars drifting into the night, meditation sessions in the forest so anyone could hear their own breath. Every activity centered on friendship, between humans and animals, between people and nature. Emma, once a soldier who believed herself useless, now guided others with devotion. She still stayed up late writing in her journal, But her entries no longer described nightmares. Instead, they chronicled stories of recovery, the first smile of a soldier in years, the elderly woman quietly tending her vegetable patch, the sound of Shadow's silver bell ringing beneath the blue sky. Each page stood testament to the power of patience and love. One crisp autumn morning, as maples turned gold, Emma and Noah hung a plaque bearing the names of veterans who had visited Haven Ranch. Shadow lay beside them, half-closed eyes absorbing the words etched on wood. Emma placed her hand on his shoulder, whispered, "You are our lighthouse, Shadow." The dog gave a gentle tail wag, his eyes answering with all his heart. Haven Ranch was more than a farm or a therapy center. It was a symbol of rebirth, of finding hope amid wounds that seemed endless. Emma and Shadow built it with tireless hearts and unwavering dedication. They created a circle of kindness that spread farther than she ever imagined. Now, anyone crossing the ranch gate feels its warmth, sees the chance to begin anew. And in that peaceful realm, Shadow's silver bell still rings, guiding countless hearts back to the light. One winter morning, while the sun still lay drowsy behind the snow-capped mountains, Emma and Shadow strode along the familiar trail called the Rebirth Journey. Fallen maple leaves carpeted the path. Dew on each blade of grass sparkled like tiny crystals. The air was crisp, the scent of fresh pine enveloping them. Shadow led the way, the silver bell at his collar chiming softly, echoing through the silent woods. Suddenly, Shadow stopped. He turned to Emma, his normally lively eyes reflecting something extraordinary, an expression that seemed to transcend time and touch the very depths of the soul. The dog lay down, his back slightly hunched, his breathing slowing. Emma felt her heart tighten. She knelt beside him, placed her hand gently on his back, feeling the final, fading beats. In that absolute stillness, only the warmth of his small body radiated through the thick wool. Emma bowed her head, lips trembling. "Thank you for everything." Her whisper drifted through the frosty air, yet it carried the weight of an entire journey. From two lost souls finding each other in the ancient forest, to walks by the stream, to journal pages soaked in sorrow and hope. Shadow licked her palm softly, as if bidding farewell. Then he closed his eyes, exhaled gently, and peacefully released his earthly burdens. Pain crashed over Emma in waves, but she refused to collapse in the cold. She rose, brushed aside her coat, eyes red, yet determined. At Haven Ranch's center, she swiftly planned a formal memorial to honor Shadow. Word spread. Hundreds of veterans, families, volunteers, and those once comforted by Shadow gathered in the farm's warm embrace. The next morning, Haven Ranch shone brightly against the snowy landscape. A large tent stood beside the central fire pit, framed by mountains glistening under the pale sun. Emma appeared in her earth-toned sweater, tears on her cheeks, yet her smile radiated warmth that banished the frost. She stepped to the podium, her voice clear through the microphone. "Today, we not only bid farewell to a loyal friend, we celebrate the resilience and unconditional loyalty Shadow gave each of us." In that solemn moment, Emma revealed a long-cherished surprise. She had completed her book based on the Pause and Purpose blog, recounting every twist of the healing journey, from the first nightmare to the steady steps along the rebirth journey. All proceeds would expand Haven Ranch, build new therapy animal facilities, and enable veterans everywhere to access this method. Applause thundered through the pines, hundreds of hearts united in a common mission to spread hope. That very day, the first 1,000 copies sold out. Emma and Shadow's story spread across social media, news outlets, and their YouTube channel. Short clips of Shadow nestled in Emma's arms, tears glistening on his fur amid her chilly breath, garnered millions of views and shares. Comments overflowed with gratitude, tributes to the brave dog, and promises to carry on his legacy. But the greatest miracle came soon afterward. One afternoon, as Emma tidied her small office in the log cabin, she found an old letter tucked into the first journal entry. The envelope bore the name of a veteran who had stood beside Emma on a distant mission. Her hands trembling, she opened it, overcome by emotion at the scrawled, heartfelt words. "Dear Emma, I'm Mark, the soldier who navigated the Coyote Ridge maze with you. That day, you ran toward Shadow's groans and saved him. Your courage taught me that sometimes we must face our wounds to heal. Because of you, I found the strength to seek help for my PTSD. I'm now a therapist helping our old comrades every day. Thank you, and Shadow, so much." Emma collapsed onto her desk, tears flowing freely. She never imagined that one pure act, rescuing a small life, would resonate so profoundly. Shadow had not only saved her, he had inspired countless others to confront their pain, seek help, and choose life. Time passed. Haven Ranch flourished. The vegetable garden expanded. New therapy dog kennels rose, and the rebirth journey trail stretched farther, inviting more lost souls to find peace. Each morning, Emma still walked into the woods, Shadow gone, yet his bell's echo lingering, as she whispered to her dear friend, "I'm still here, Shadow. Every step is the bridge that connects us." Emma's book continued to top international bestseller lists, translated into many languages. Each edition was more than pages. It was a ticket to healing for thousands of veterans weary from battlefield memories and nightly nightmares. Letters poured in, videos of thanks, stories of laughter and renewed purpose, thanks to Emma and Shadow's tale. Haven Ranch had become more than a therapy center. It was a symbol of hope for the whole community. Visitors came not only to find peace, but to continue the legacy of a little dog with a silver bell. A statue of Shadow now stood at the farm's entrance, sunlight filtering through snowfall to illuminate the star on his nose. One late winter afternoon, Emma stood atop a hill, gazing over Haven Ranch's expanse. She saw verdant rows of vegetables, veterans tending the garden with steady hands, dogs romping and barking joyfully. On the breeze, she imagined the faint jingle of a silver bell. Emma exhaled in bliss, whispered to herself, "Our journey, yours and mine, never ends. It will keep spreading like an undying flame of hope." And so, through changing seasons, through bird song and whispering winds, the story of Emma Carter and Shadow, loyal friend, spark of countless hearts, lives on. It is told by trembling hands writing in journals, in every copy sold, in each footstep along the rebirth journey, a bond that transcends time between human and animal, between pain and compassion, between darkness and light, proving that no matter how fierce the cold, a small flame can touch the heart and awaken miracles. If this story moved you, please leave a heart by hitting like. Spread hope to those who need it across America. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next inspiring journey. Who knows? The next chapter might be yours.